Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a video I've wanted to create for some time. It's on the subject of leisure vehicle insurance, which can be often confusing and can create frustration, usually due to a lack of understanding. So what is the purpose of insurance? It's to put the claimant back in the same situation they were in prior to the loss or the incident. There's lots of information that you've got to get right on your quote, as they will all affect the premium and invalidate any claim. Try not to think about motor insurance and campervan insurance like your car insurance. You cannot compare the cost of your motorhome insurance with someone else's vehicle. It just isn't that simple due to the factors that we'll discuss in this video. If you have a new motorhome, some insurance policies will offer new for old replacement, but this is not standard practice and often has mileage and age restrictions. If your motorhome is written off, this insurance means you'd receive a brand new, equivalent model rather than a payout based on the current market value. To qualify, you typically need to insure your motorhome for the cost of a new model, rather than its current market value. If this offer lasts for 2 or 3 years, it is important to update the cover with the replacement value each year. After this condition lapses, for an older van, more than likely you will be looking at the market value. The market value represents what a willing buyer would pay to a willing seller under normal circumstances. Consider if you need cover for the UK only, or will you be definitely going abroad during the next term of insurance? If so, it is useful to add this cover on at renewal. Otherwise, there is usually a mid-term adjustment charge along with the premium for the cover abroad. Some insurers automatically include breakdown cover, which will mean your vehicle is able to be relocated after an event which prevents you from continuing your journey. You can buy this separately from other providers, but check they are able to actually move your vehicle. Some do not if it's over 3.5 tons or is of a certain length. Do check which insurers offer discounts for alarms, immobilizers and trackers. Remember, it doesn't matter how many steering locks and wheel clamps you fit to a camper or motorhome. It generally does not mean you will get a discount. But some insurers will offer discounts for additional accredited door locks. Caravans are different, as it's usually a stipulation that they require at least one wheel clamp and a hitch lock. If you're going to tow, be sure to check if the insurance covered you for that, or whether you need to add it separately. Remember, it's not the same as putting a trailer on the back of your car. Insurance needs to be more finely tuned, excuse the pun, for towing another vehicle with an engine in it, a car, a bike, or something like that on a trailer. Check with your insurer to see that your van is insured anywhere and at any time. For example, if you were taking an 8-week tour of Europe and partway through you decide to park it up on a street near an Airbnb and go and stay in that accommodation for 3 nights, is your van actually insured as you are not with it? Or you park it up and leave the area completely to go on a coach day excursion. Scenarios like that. Also check if there's cover for rodent damage. It happens and it can be quite devastating. What is the limit on claims for your windscreen? For example, on a car you might have to pay a £75 excess, but on a motorhome, particularly A-class vehicles, the windscreens can be well over £1,000. Also, there can be automotive glass roof lights at the front. How easy replaceable are they, and are they covered? So with those things in mind, considering how an insurance premium is calculated, will help you understand why it is paramount to have your figures and your facts correct. Not only is it dishonest to try and get a cheaper quote by bending the truth, you could also end up invalidating a claim in the future. Insurers keep records, and nowadays it's much easier to search back on records. Insurance companies use various factors to assess risk and then apply percentages to those factors to determine the premium. So a risk is the possibility of a loss, damage or injury that the insurer agrees to cover under the policy. The potential of that loss can be greater or lesser depending on factors. Some of these factors increase or decrease the premium substantially, and that is why it is important to get them correct and understand how they can affect you. Age and driving experience, for example. Younger drivers and less experienced ones are generally considered a higher risk and will have a higher percentage applied. Some motorhome insurers will ask how many years driving experience you have of large vehicles too. How many accidents, convictions and claims you or any driver have had in a certain period, not necessarily in your motorhome, but also with your car or bike, etc. Because leisure vehicles are costly to repair, even more potential than a car to be written off in some cases, they generally have higher premiums. So if your 10-year motorhome happens to cost more to insure than your 1-year-old car, you can understand why. The value you place on the vehicle is not necessarily the payout you would receive in the event of a claim. So be really careful to be realistic with your valuation, as this is one such factor that could make or break your premium. In a similar way, don't undersell the value, so you are not disappointed, as most insurers will take into account your sum insured as well as the market value of the vehicle at the time of the accident, and you might not receive the higher of the two values. Where you live and where you park will also affect the premium. Your annual mileage is important too, because the more you drive, the more chance there is of having an accident. If you tell the insurer you only do 3,000 miles a year in your camper and you have a claim and the current mileage has increased 20,000 in the last term of insurance, they may ask questions and not pay out. You can check your annual mileage on your MOT certificate if you have one. Your occupation will affect the premium too. If you're retired, for example, you could be out in the vehicle most weeks. If you work full time, on the other hand, you might only get away for a weekend or a few long holidays. If you insure your vehicle for just yourself to drive, the premium could be higher than if you had your partner on the insurance. This depends on your ages, of course, but having two drivers qualified to drive that vehicle can reduce the premium. Don't just elect a high voluntary excess to reduce your premium. Voluntary excesses are added to any compulsory excesses, and you need to be able to afford to pay these when you make a claim. But a higher voluntary excess means your insurer has less to pay out in the event of a claim, and they can reduce your premium. Your NCD is seen as a bonus for being a good driver, but taken off the bottom line after most other loads and discounts have been applied. So remember, premiums are not calculated on these risk factors added together or as a percentage of a base value. Instead, insurance companies use complex algorithms that assign different weights to each factor. So of course all these factors are specific to you, but insurers also weigh up what is happening in the world around you. Natural disasters, fires and floods, in home insurance for example, can increase the cost of vehicle insurance, as everyone who buys insurance pays into a central pot. Here's a few other things to consider when you get your renewal premium. Motorhome and campervan insurance is pretty specialist, and there's generally less insurers offering it than there would be for, say, car insurance. Gradually, some leisure vehicle insurance is appearing on comparison sites. Bear in mind that the policy you get from Company A on a comparison website might not have all the benefits you get from Company A if you go direct to them for a quote. It will, however, be priced in line with the latest regulations. Recent insurance regulation changes have meant that insurers had to stop giving obvious discounts to new customers. The situation prior to that was causing long-standing customers to cancel and re-quote as a new customer. The whole scenario gained lots of new business for insurers, but also caused confusion for policyholders and meant that some insurers actually took on bad risks. I digress a bit now when I say that mergers also cause upheaval. Some insurers that merge with others actually want to lose customers, particularly higher risk ones, and one of the ways they can do this is by increasing the annual premium to an astronomical figure, resulting in you going elsewhere. Consider also that paying monthly will cost more than paying annually, because if you pay monthly you are essentially taking out a 12-month loan with the insurer. To be more precise, it's not always direct with the insurer, but with a credit company that provides the full premium to the insurer on day one of the policy. Most insurers, but not all, run a full credit check on you when they offer you an initial quote with the ability for you to choose to pay monthly. And they will rerun that check for every renewal offered. Many years ago there wasn't the same ability as there is now to carry out checks on a proposer, the person asking for the quote. Vehicles were checked for previous write-offs, and largely insurance was based more on trust. In the event of a claim, if vital information differed from the proposal, the claim may be thrown out and will be not honoured. Today databases are in place which will, for example, check that the previous claims you provide in the quote match with the details on record, and some insurers will simply not provide a quote if they find discrepancies. You'll see a message on your screen, "Sorry, we cannot provide a quote at this time," and that could mean that they have discovered some material differences between what you have confirmed and actual records. So there you have it. I hope that makes sense and you have learned something from the video. What I will say is that a few years ago I did put a post up on Facebook and was inundated with questions which I tried to answer. Please be aware that I cannot enter into a similar scenario here and will not be answering questions such as, "I haven't made any changes, why has my premium changed?" or "Why isn't last year's price what I paid?" or similar. The comments I make in this video are general and for you to consider when taking out motorhome, campervan or caravan insurance, and are some of the more commonly asked questions and discussed topics. Please bear in mind that although I have years of experience in personal lines and commercial insurance, I am no longer authorised or regulated in such matters. Thanks for watching, and please leave your comments below. Bye for now.